We cannot accept ourselves, separate ourselves from this country of which we are a part. And at some point, sooner or later, these challenges would find us. And they did on Saturday, when someone drove more than 600 miles to bring their racism and hatred and intolerance and violence to this community, to take the lives of 22 people from El Paso and Ciudad Juarez. But as Diana said, that will not define us. And it will not only be our history that I just recounted to you that will define us. It will be you, it will be all of us that have the chance to define us at this moment. The courageous first responders who rushed to the scene, the heroes on the ground in Walmart who did everything they could to save the lives of their fellow human beings, running towards, not away from the gunfire and the killer. Those who took care of the victims at Del Sol and University Medical Center, the doctors, the nurses, the frontline staff, the janitors and the custodians who cleaned up the blood and got that trauma bay ready for the next victim that was being rolled in. Everyone who's come to any vigil, any one of you who's donated blood, everyone who is praying for and thinking about those families to strengthen them and fortify them and ensure that they're resilient now and in the days to come. You are defining El Paso at this moment. And we will not be made afraid. We will not change who we are. We will not renounce what is so special about this community. Instead, we stand up to be counted, to share with one another and the rest of the country just who we are and the pride that we have and what we represent for an America that has never been more divided or more highly polarized. This community, which has been able to come together, can serve as the example, not just for how El Paso and Ciudad Juarez recovers from this tragedy, but perhaps how this country sets a path forward that brings everybody in, does not allow our differences to divide us or define us or to keep us from the greatness which is ours if we will only pursue it. Last night, I took my family to the memorial just outside of the Walmart. Some of you may have been there. 22 crosses that have been set up, each of them draped in, drenched in flowers, in rosaries, in handwritten cards and notes. Our children brought paper flowers that they had made at home to place on each one of the crosses. And around us, people from this community, people from Las Cruces, people from Ciudad Juarez, people who had driven in hundreds of miles away to pay their respects to us, to our families, to this community, to what we represent. And as I was leaving, a young woman came up to me and she said, "Beto, I don't know if you remember me, but I play with mariachis who had performed at one of your events." And I said, well, tell me how you're doing and tell me how your fellow mariachis are doing. And she said, "We've decided not to play anymore. We feel that being out in public, performing with the pride of who we are in our culture and where we come from, has unfortunately made us a target at this moment, and we're afraid." What you are doing today, the conversation that you are forcing this country to have, the laws that you will ensure that we change, the hatred and fear of one another that will be met with a hope that we invest in one another, a fear of the future that is changed into a courage about what we can do for one another in the days ahead. That is how we meet her fear right now. That's how we make it better for all of us. So I just want you to know, that I am so proud of you, of this school, of your leadership, of every single one of you at this moment where you're making a conscious choice to define El Paso, to define this country for the better for every single one of us. Thank you for having me out here today, and thank you for what you're doing.